Hello, you filthy animals, and welcome to the 6th episode of the Season 3 Arrow Rewrite series. This is a series of videos where I will rewrite the entire Arrowverse to make it something better than the original Arrowverse ended up being. Well, like I said, is episode 6, and it will be mostly similar to the original episode 5, which had the same exact title. Without wasting any more time, let's begin. So like I said, this episode will be similar in both the present day and flashback storyline. A lot of people hate this episode, but I don't. And I don't believe people hate it because of the episode itself, but rather because they hate Felicity as a character. And this was the first ever Felicity heavy episode. It's like Run Iris Run from season 4 of The Flash. That episode was fine, but because season 4 began with Iris being the team leader and saying lines like, "You are not the Flash, Barry, we are." By the time we got to the episode Iris Run, people thought that the Flash was turning into an Irish show, similar to what it ended up turning into as our Cecile and Friends show. So people felt the same way about Felicity, but this was a fine episode. People give it too much of a hard time, and I personally don't hate Felicity as a character, and I have great plans for the character, and her character arc begins with this episode. So anyway, during the events of the flashback and even present day, we will learn that Felicity came from serious poverty. When her mom shows up for the same reason as in the original, which is she thinks she wants some lottery, she can still have the same annoying personality, but at some point in the episode, she will reveal to Oliver and by default the audience the struggle of raising her genius daughter on a simple waitress's salary. Felicity's father, the calculator, will also debut in this episode, and we will learn he was abusive towards his wife. Not physically, but emotionally. For example, he'd take all her savings and then leave his family without any resources and go off to commit his crimes. And so his wife would have to struggle to, raise their daughter. And the worst part about all this was Felicity was a difficult child who didn't realize her mother's struggles because she idolized her father. We will see how he taught her almost everything she knows about computers, and together they designed Brother Eye. As for Felicity's boyfriend, he won't be the main villain, but just a fellow hacker who didn't mind breaking small laws like piracy. But he wasn't evil or anything. Felicity's mom would always try to tell her not to waste her life on crime, but to focus on her studies, since she's on a scholarship and she shouldn't waste this opportunity she has. But because Felicity's mom never finished high school, teenage Felicity always considered her mom to be a moron, not smart enough to understand what they are doing. So anyway, one day her dad told Felicity and her boyfriend he wanted to test their skills, and he had a new complex firewall for them to breach, and he would be timing their work. So he left them working on it, and in about half an hour they finally broke through. And it took them so long because it was a very secure firewall. Anyway, once they're actually on the website, Felicity realized they were on a government website, and she quickly disconnected before they could backtrace her. But her boyfriend wasn't as careful, he was sloppy, and so the feds were able to track him down, and by default her as well. And when they were both arrested, that's when Felicity learned the horrible truth. The site they had hacked wasn't just a government network, it was the FBI headquarters, and several classified documents had been stolen. Felicity and her boyfriend tried to explain that they hadn't stolen anything, and that yes, they had hacked in, but they hadn't taken anything, but it wasn't looking good for them. And then, as more data was being revealed, that's when Felicity realized the actual truth. The calculator had used his own daughter to break into the network, and then using her computer, he'd planted a Trojan horse, which he later on used to steal the files. And because he didn't do it directly, he used her computer. He meant for her to take the fall on his behalf, and there was absolutely no proof to to prove otherwise except for her and her boyfriend's word. But just when it seemed like they'd go to jail for a very long time for espionage, it was discovered an old file where the calculator had once done the exact same thing with an old buddy of his back when he was also in university. So the feds ended up believing Felicity and her boyfriend were victims of manipulation. And luckily for them, whether or not their actions were intentional, there were still accessories to a crime, and as such would have to go to jail. Now, because Felicity was at the time 17, so she was a minor, she ended up getting sent to juvie for a sentence of 2 years. Her boyfriend was 18, so he got sent to main prison for the exact same period. During those 2 years, Felicity's mom, who she'd previously despised, would visit her every day, and Felicity was finally able to appreciate her mother's previous warnings and the fact she had always idolized the wrong parent. She completely reformed and saw her father for the abusive manipulator he was, especially since he never visited her in jail and went on the run, and he'd never see her again up until, the events of this episode. And when finally she got out, she learned even more tragic news that her boyfriend was murdered in prison by another inmate, and unlike in the show, he's dead for real in the rewrite. So now Felicity is at her lowest point. Her mom can't afford to take her back to university. You'll remember she was on a scholarship and she wasted that chance. Her dad's a criminal who used her and is long gone. He couldn't care less about her. And she'll try to get a job, but as everyone knows, it's not that easy for former convicts to get jobs. So she's in a really tough position. But then that's when, out of nowhere, Queen Consolidated will accept her application and she'll get the job that we met her in season 1 on. And this will explain why she's so loyal to Queen Consolidated, and also why back in season 1 she was so scared about losing her job when Walter kept threatening to fire her. If you watch that season, you'll see she's so panicky about it in both the rewrite and the original.
I know with this additional context, it seems like Felicity's character has regressed because she's currently breaking the law to help Oliver and the other vigilantes, but that's why he made a point in season 1 to show how reluctant she was to accept his offer. And plus, she's doing more good now. Before she was just doing it for herself, but now she's doing it to save lives. So that's the difference.
Anyway, moving to present day, Diggle will want to get into Argus, but that's a lot easier said than done. Felicity will attempt to help him by hacking to the network, only to discover someone else is doing the same thing. The main villain of the episode will be the calculator, having returned after all these years to do the exact same thing as last time. He means to use the Brother Eye virus to steal Argus info and sell it to the highest bidder, and he needs Felicity to take the fall once again. Luckily for present day Felicity, she has something that her former self never had. She is friends with a superhero, and so when her mother and her get kidnapped, just like in the original, and she uses her mom's smartwatch to signal Timaru, the Arrow and Speedy will come and save the day. The calculator will finally be arrested and taken into Argus custody, and we will see the man in the white bullseye mask watching it all unfold from the rooftop. He will make a call and say, "It appears he failed to obtain the data. Your bait worked well to lure the calculator out of the shadows. I am moving to intercept." Finally, the episode will end with Felicity's friends reassuring her that they value her and that she's not just some pawn to be used the way her father keeps using her, because naturally this will affect Felicity psychologically. First, we'll get Oliver reassuring her that she's the single most important and valued member of this team and they'll never abandon her. Then later, she'll apologize to her mom for being such a difficult child, and also because, the lottery ended up being another one of the calculator scams. And her mom will reveal how proud she is of Felicity, that despite her admittedly low IQ, she ended up giving birth to and raising such an intelligent and fine young woman, and she's so proud of her daughter. Then lastly, Ted Cord will once again offer a place in his company to Felicity, telling her she deserves it and that Cord Industries has always believed in giving second chances, and they also hire reformed convicts, and she can check their files if she doesn't believe him. He will also offer Felicity's mom a job in one of the retail stores he bought in the second episode as a store manager, since she is currently unemployed, and Felicity's mom will accept the offer because he offers a much better salary than any of her previous jobs, so her life will improve for the better. And Felicity will look at all this and promise to legitimately consider his offer. She'll think about it, weigh it against her current job at Queen Consolidated, since she went back to Queen Consolidated, and she'll get back to him, and then she'll kiss him on the cheek, so we can finally begin setting up her relationship with Ted Cord, because I always found the Ray Palmer and Felicity relationship to be much better for Felicity than Felicity. Who likes Felicity? Very bad relationship. And with that brings us to the end of the episode. This was a short one because there wasn't much to change. And the next episode, Hiding Behind Masks, will come out hopefully in a week, at the very worst within 2 weeks. If you enjoyed the episode, then smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn on those notifications. And if the next episode, Hiding Behind Masks, is already out, then you know what to do. Until then, hail and farewell.